I'd rather be busy than not busy.
Going good?
Yeah. Trying to keep momentum through the holiday season, you know.
Yeah, I know, us too. Although we're getting lots of inquiries, we just don't like any of them.
Okay.
So it's like, damn, I wish I liked that loan. Gary
Yeah.
Shaw, I don't know if you know Gary Shaw, is this old curmudgeon mortgage broker out of Nevada, sends me a no-brainer, Nevada. Those Southern California guys just don't understand Nevada valuations. It's just a pile of crap. An attorney, Chapter 11, got modifications of all his existing mortgages to wipe out, give him back a whole bunch of equity. Now he wants to borrow it all back out again. $1 million loan, you know. It's like, nah. Well secured, but that would be pure hard money. He'd probably make 3 payments and then, like, you know, we'd have to go after him.
Yeah. He's an attorney, so you know, you get the riot act.
That's always tough to do with attorneys. I sent you that one that got referred to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I figured Rick's on top of it.
Yeah, oh yeah, he's always dollars only.
You don't have to worry about closing it 'cause it's just us. You don't have to close the door.
No Davide.
No.
No. But what about when that loudmouth cat shows up? She'll be all like, tell this. Just kidding. She's quiet and demure. So I actually found, I started yesterday, which was good, because I knew if I waited till today to like go through all my killer blogs, I wouldn't have time. So but I've got all kinds of queries that just dovetail.
Cool.
I'm glad you're first up because you know, if I don't get to all of these, it'll be great because I could use them in the next segment. But
and I got your question is how often do you stay in contact with your fund investors? And then you can mention your January 20th event.
Yeah, January 20th. Yeah, somebody wrote back and said January 29th or something. Maybe they just typoed it.
Then I've got a few little, fun mentions here.
Credit union offers $2 million mortgage with
I have
no
that
down
one too.
payment. Yeah, let's
I
talk a
know
little bit about that one.
With no down payment?
No down payment. That's when you know you're at the peak. It's the bubble. It's about to burst.
Warren Buffett. When other people get greedy, be scared. Be scared of them.
Yeah, really. I'm hoping we're going to get an offer on our properties that Douglas has in the next month.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And we'll have some money to play with. What do you think? You guys ready?
1 second.
Actually, I haven't read any of these, but I'll just go off the headlines. Oh, trying to sound surprised as I'm reading it.
Holy smokes. Yes, right.
I forget what movie that was from. There was a movie about what newscaster was saying. At least you can do is try to act surprised when you're reading the teleprompter.
Yeah, right. That's funny. Eva had I had her in this mutual fund in 1991 when she had done a little bit of independent contractor work. We've been married a couple of years. Wanted to start a sub-IRA for her.
Yeah.
I put $1,500 in, and it grew. I had her in the Franklin Global Income Fund.
Yes, I had a Franklin money market account.
We had a money market,
but
okay,
I wasn't in that particular fund.
Yeah.
But Franklin was all the people in my dorm. In college, I didn't know anything about anything back then. So, you got to put your money in this Franklin money fund. You get 16%.
Yeah. That's what it was.
Put my $100 in there. Go right.
So it got up to like $5,500, and the thing is, I've been just kind of a little nervous about interest rates, global stuff. So a couple days ago, we just transferred it over to like a domestic stock fund because I figured, let's have just a little bit in the stock market. It's Canadian money. Okay, you guys ready?
Yeah. Buy Apple. It's going down. That's what I do. I buy stocks and start at their peak when they're going down.
Don't buy them at the peak. Okay, ready?
Buy high, sell low.
Only the government can do that.
Yeah, that's true.
All right. You ready? There we go. You can use that mic, so that's fine. Let's try this again. Welcome. You're listening to The Best of Investing on Talk 910. I'm your host, Edward Brown, and I'm proud to have as my co-host Mark Hahn of Pacific Private Money, one of California's fastest growing mortgage investment firms, which you're still growing very fast, leaps and bounds.
We are.
And Rob Spinoza of RPM Mortgage. Our phone number is 888-912-1190. Use that number to answer the trivia questions for 3 vacations given away during this show. And the vacations are not sponsored by the radio station, but by Lighthouse Resort Marina, located 1 hour northeast of San Francisco. Those vacations are free. They will only request a $75 cleaning fee to cover the housekeeping expenses. Today's trivia theme is sailor superstitions.
Okay.
Always have to come up with something a little bit new, you know. Our website is bestofinvesting.com. And Rob, let's get right into it. You got some good stuff.
Oh, well, hey, I think probably the thing we should start with is interest rates.
Yeah.
Why? What happened?
For those of you who slept through the crash line. So this week we saw the Federal Reserve raise the federal funds rate 0.25%. Much to nobody's surprise.
The stock market actually went up.
Yeah, and the bond
and then
market
it went down.
Well, and bond market was notably muted about that. We didn't really, long-term rates didn't move much. And the reason I bring it up is because I think the news does a very good job, the headlines, of scaring consumers into thinking, oh no, it's too late to get a mortgage now because rates went up a quarter. Doesn't work in lockstep, obviously. For those who have home equity lines of credit, you'll see a change on your next payment with those. But for 30-year fixed rates and longer-term loans, like Mark just alluded to, we didn't see a lot of change in the mortgage market. In fact, through the latter part of the week, things got a little bit better.
We've talked about this, how the mortgage market really doesn't respond necessarily to changes in the short-term interest rates. They change in response to the long-term interest rates, and long-term interest rates already have factored in the expectation.
Right, it was a long time in coming, exactly. That I think everybody expected the 0.25%, and that's what they got, and the market likes that kind of certainty. So there you go on that. If you're out there in the market and you're thinking, okay, any opportunity's been lost, I would say probably status quo as far as that's concerned. The other thing I thought it would be fun to talk about today, as we go into the last part of the year and last weeks of the year, are predictions for 2016.
I love those.
There you go.
So I have the famous Yogi Berra one, but actually this one is attributed to Lao Tzu. So it says, those who have knowledge don't predict, those who predict don't have knowledge, kind of thing. Very difficult to predict the future.
Well, before you get into those actual predictions, here's an article that says, according to consumers, 2016 mortgage rates will rise. So Fannie Mae did a poll, and apparently 51% of consumers think mortgage rates are on the way up. Another 44% believe rates will remain within their current range, which right now is right around 4%. And 5% actually think mortgage rates will drop in 2016. But the best part of the article says, don't be swayed by popular opinion, however. Consumers are notoriously terrible at predicting the future of mortgage rates, just as bad as Wall Street is.
Yeah, well, that's what I was just going to say. It's not only the consumers that are doing that. I have an article here that talks about, on average, the annual forecast missed the actual market performance by an incredible 14.6 percentage points. And these are financial advisors.
Did they say interest rates are going to be at 18%?
No. This was
Oh,
related.
they're not 14%.
The percentage difference between what they thought
it
it was and what it actually was.
Yeah.
Maybe in more specific terms, I recall, we've been doing this show now for 5 years, and I remember the year-end December 2013 shows and the year-end December 2014 shows, and in both at the end of 2013 and at the end of 2014, the basically mortgage rate futures, if you want to call them that were coming out from those expert opinion polls, they were all predicting mortgage rates were going to go from 4 to 5%. That they were going to go up 20%, and they were wrong both years in a row. And so I'm wondering what they're saying today.
Well, and to carry on that thought a little bit further, it says the same article I was reading before. It says from 2000 to 2014, again stock market performance. The 22 strategists on average did not forecast a single down year ever. So it's so with rates, I think it's the safe bet right now to say that they'll go up, and I think short term they probably will. One of the interesting dynamics that we've been discussing in our industry has been how sort of the global interplay and oil prices and all that stuff could all line up to see a potential dip, end of Q2 into Q3 in 2016.
Yeah.
And I have every reason to believe that might come to pass.
This might change in the next couple of weeks, but I was actually surprised at how few predictions I was able to find when I scoured the web in doing my homework for the show. whereas there were lots of opinions that they were ready to share, a year ago and 2 years ago. Now, I did find one article that actually predicted that rates at this time next year would still be, mortgage rates that is, would still be at 4%.
I think that's the safest bet of all of them.
Wow.
Because I expect the Fed to raise 2 times in the coming year. So they've already done that once, and then maybe another quarter. You'd have prime rate at what, a 3.75 at that point. And I think that's kind of in line with borrower expectation. Now, if it goes a lot higher than that, let's say it goes a full percentage point, I think at that point we do start to see some spillover into the housing market, because so many borrowers in high-cost areas are bumping up against the restrictions that have been put in place over the last few years. So now you don't have the flexibility you once had to work with a borrower's individual characteristics to get them into a program. Now on the higher end of things, you're looking at a 43% debt-to-income ratio, and there's not a lot of ways to get around that.
Well, interesting that Zillow recently did a poll, and they found that 70% of respondents said they would not change their buying plans unless rates went up higher than 0.5% from current rates. So basically, up to 4.5%, they didn't think that would affect their buying plans. Now, of course, on the other side of it, because Rob, you're in the mortgage business, you know this, a 4.5% versus 4% could affect the amount of home they can buy, because of the strict now income regulations we have, where you actually have to prove your ability to repay. But that's an interesting, that up to 4.5%, basically they're saying, that's not going to change my expectations and my willingness to go out.
But I wonder how many people, when interest rates go up, are going to be on the side of, maybe they'll come back down again. I'll wait. You'll have people jump on going,
that's a great point.
It's not going to do before.
Well, it could, because that's the thing. No one predicted a year ago that rates would be where they are today, which is actually they're less today than they are. The trailing 12 month, we're actually down in mortgage rates.
I'll give you another perspective on that too. I think if you guys recall, when the stock market was at its lowest point and it started to go back up, I noticed a lot of investors were reluctant to get in because they thought it was going to go back down again. So they're thinking, oh, well, I'm going to outsmart this market the second time through. When it happens again, but it doesn't always work that way. And I think you bring up a good point with that.
All right, hey guys, we're going to cut to a quick commercial break. We got a couple of announcements here, though. First of all, don't forget to check out hornblower.com for the holiday cruises. Next week is Christmas time. Check them out at hornblower.com. They have some great Christmas cruises. And speaking of Christmas, got to visit our friends at Nothing Bundt Cakes. It's a great way to have some bundt cakes for Christmas.
Gotta love bundt cake.
Oh, they have the best. They literally have the best. They're located in
Although I will say, have you ever eaten a bundt cake too fast?
Oh,
they're heavy and they're rich. They're so good. If you eat them too fast, they're almost like.
I thought it was a joke. I thought this was one of your jokes.
No, it wasn't a pretty joke.
No. You gotta just have to eat it. Just slow it and
That's
savor it. Savor it.
That's right. Slowly eat your bundt cake for safety reasons.
And you can talk to either Nick or Tori, and check out their Nothing Bundt Cakes. I love that name. 415-924-2254. Okay, here is, in fact, I'm going to get some for our Christmas. You know what? I mean, how many, Christmas turkey, blah, blah, blah. How many times do you have Christmas bundt cakes?
Well,
got
start a new tradition.
That's it. Oh, I love those. I'm salivating thinking about those.
Yes, Edward, we know that Edward loves his desserts.
A little sneaky snack, as we say. Okay, so here's our first trivia.
Boy, landlubbers, get on with your trivia.
That's it, exactly. Sailor superstitions. You ready?
Yeah.
Yep.
Many passengers are considered unlucky. A captain should think twice before allowing any Finns, meaning people who are from Finland, women, or redheads on board. Okay, that's apparently a fact, right?
Okay.
Clergymen are also bad news. And here's the question. Why? Why are clergymen considered bad news for being on a ship?
On your ship.
Yes, we're talking sailor superstitions, all right?
Sailor
The first caller with the correct answer is going to win a free 3-day, 2-night stay at the Lighthouse Resort. Call 888-912-1190. That's 888-912-1190 to answer this question, and I'll just shorten it. Why are clergymen bad news to be on a ship? What's the sailor superstition about that? Stay with us. You're listening to The Best of Investing. When we come back, we've got a couple of very interesting emails for our co-hosts.
I'm actually thrilled because my home is still not ready to be refinanced, even though we're physically moving in this weekend. The home is still not done, and probably won't be for a couple of weeks. So talking with Jeremy and other guys about when I can actually start that process. And, yeah, probably January's. But yeah, I was really worried a couple of months ago that the rates were going to go.
Well, we saw the worst of it a couple of months. Yeah, about a month ago now.
When they started going, it's like, oh crap, I missed it because my house is supposed to be ready in the summer.
Yeah,
and then it was.
I don't think they want to ruin the housing market by, having things jump up. So that's the one
So I'm
dangerous.
thrilled not to be in a hurry, and that I can still get a 4-ish rate.
Yeah, you will. I think you'll have fine now.
All right. You guys ready?
Yep.
Okay, here we go. Welcome back to the Best of Investing. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Mark Hahn and Rob Spinoza. And I'm going to shorten this trivia question. Basically, you're talking sailors' superstitions. Why is it bad news to have clergymen on board? What's the superstition about it?
Maybe because they can administer last rites.
Oh, that's not a bad answer. That's not correct.
I know. It's
okay. Okay, yeah, this is a weird one. Clergymen are they're considered descendants of Jonah, the original bad luck passenger.
Oh, like Jonah's whale?
Jonah the big fish. Jonah the whale. They go, no, we don't want no clergymen on board.
Exactly. It's kind of a stretch, don't you think?
It's quite a stretch. Okay. Before we get into our email time, I want to make a quick note here for the Meritage, which is in the Napa Valley. All right, you deserve it. A luxurious getaway in Napa Valley, the Meritage Resort and Spa boasts world-class luxury. Stroll across acres of hillside vineyards, enjoy award-winning cuisine, and relax in the estate cave as you pamper your. I love that estate cave. It must be a big man cave, Pamper yourself with Spa Terra or savor flights of Trinitas, or Trinitas, I guess you pronounce it, Cellar's Wine. Join the Meritage Resort for the 3rd annual Masters and Makers Meritage, February 12th to the 14th, which isn't that Labor Day? Isn't that Valentine's Day?
You lost me back here at Estate Cave. I don't
know.
Estate Cave.
Yeah, special dinners, wine education seminars, and you got to check them out at meritageresort.com/masters for details. Okay, so now we got some great emails here. Mark, how often do you stay in contact with your fund investors?
Oh, okay. So for new listeners, I'm Mark Hahn, president of Pacific Private Money. We are a private money real estate lender, and we're called Pacific Private Money because we use private capital to fund our real estate loans. So the email question had to do with one of our investment strategies for our investor clients, and that is to participate in our mortgage pool fund, which we call the Pacific Private Money Fund. It's a fund that's currently paying out a little over 8% on an annualized rate. That is because the fund is made up of real estate secured mortgages that are paying between 9 and 10%. And after fund expenses, the payout to the investors, actually for the last 3 years, has been just a tick above 8% consistently. And we make monthly distributions on that fund. And so the question was, how often do we keep in communication with our fund investors? And the answer is monthly, because I send out a monthly shareholder newsletter with news about the fund, what new loans we made, what loans paid off, what the statistics are in the fund, the number of shareholders, the number of assets under management, what the yield is for that particular month and how it compares year to date, and other news. I like to include market news. Since I already do research for the radio show, I might as well give them some goodies, share some insights about the market, the real estate market, predictions on for the future from other people's crystal balls. And so it's and our shareholders have found it. I get a lot of good feedback whenever I send that out every month. So I have a lot of fun writing it and putting it out there, and we believe in constant communication. We also have a third-party fund administrator that is involved with doing the investor calculations and does all the heavy lifting for the fund. There's special software that's used to calculate share prices and earnings distributions, and they communicate very well. I like them very much, and which is why we use them. So they're Fairway America is the name of the company, and they're based out of Portland, Oregon, and they are fund managers for like 35 different funds, including the Pacific Private Money Fund. So for more information on how you could participate in the Pacific Private Money Fund, the fund has its own website. We shortened the name a little bit. It's pacificmoneyfund.com. That's pacificmoneyfund.com. Of course, all one word. Go check it out. And for more information, you can ping us from the website, or you can just give us a call at 415-883-2150. We're right here in the Bay Area, 415-883-2150.
You know, I'm glad he gets in contact with the shareholders monthly, not hourly, like some of these discount coupon places, you know. And you have an event coming up.
Oh, that's right, we do. So we actually haven't done one for a year. In the first year of the fund, we did several of these events. And we're doing one in January of 2016. So January 20th, that's a Wednesday night, isn't it?
It is a Wednesday.
Wednesday, January 20th at 7 p.m. at Piatti's Restaurant in Mill Valley. It's right off 101. It's very easy to get to from anywhere in the Bay Area. Piatti's Restaurant in Mill Valley, their second floor. They've got a large room with a beautiful view of the Richardson Bay and Mount Tam, and they have great hors d'oeuvres, which is why we keep going back. So the food's
awesome.
great.
Yeah.
So yeah, Edward always shows up for the food.
I always show up early and clean house first.
That's right, for the dessert.
I know. I always miss them all. I have to tell my wife to make sure you got like a doggy plate for me. Or
Yeah,
something.
that's a good idea.
Put something together. But anyway, we'll put together a little presentation, Q&A, and we're far enough along in the history of the fund that we can share some great stories of our business model and how we make our money and how the shareholders are paid and what the safety and security features are of the fund, and of course the risks associated with investing in a fund like that. So anyway, for more information, please do give us a call. We'd like to RSVP you for the fund on January 20th, Wednesday, January 20th at 7 p.m. at Piatti's Restaurant to hear more information about the Pacific Private Money Fund.
Yeah, it's a free event, but you do have to RSVP because seating is limited. It really is, and I'm going to be there. I'm going to help Mark with his presentation. Like I said, I got a face for radio, so those of you who haven't met me yet, you can see what I look like. And don't run for the doors. Okay, let's see here. All right, Rob.
Yeah.
I got an email from a listener to the show. It says here, is it a bad idea to have loan applications with many lenders at the same time? That's a good question.
It is a good question.
That's a
Yeah,
classic one.
and you know what? Let me answer that from a few different angles. So number one is, I would say, being in the business, that certainly anybody that tells you not to shop or make applications with more than one lender is probably not looking out for your best interest, because there's nothing wrong with shopping for a home loan. That said, there's a few things you do need to be aware of. The first distinction that I find with customers is that buying or getting a home loan and making an application for a home loan is a bit unlike shopping for a retail item. And so you have to accept that there's a difference between the two. Getting a home loan is tied to an inherently complex real estate transaction, and you have to appreciate that. When you go to buy a retail item, let's say you need a new dishwasher or something like that, you could get recommendations from a plumber or a kitchen contractor or something like that. They could say that model works well or whatever, and then you can go price shop it,
Sure.
and you can figure out what's the best place to buy what you're looking to buy. It's not that easy with a home loan, because one of the things is you certainly want to be interested in cost and rate, but the value of the knowledge behind the person offering that can make or break the transaction as well. So I think you need to shop for home loans on that level. It is a much more complex transaction.
You're not kidding, because I've run into that myself.
Yeah, and right. So that said, you've got that part. The technical part of it is people often wonder, well, if I make more than one application, will that hurt my credit? Not necessarily. If you make multiple inquiries in typically a 45-day window, mortgage inquiries, they count as a single inquiry.
Okay.
The other thing I would say, Edward, is that people just need to appreciate that everybody shops differently, and sometimes people get overwhelmed with information. So if you go out there and you make one or two applications, that may serve you well. If you make 5, it may just be overload, because every lender is going to come back to you in a different way with different info, and you're going to be the one that has to sort it out. The more variables you add, the harder it is to do that.
So Rob, a question about that. So I've come across in my career mortgage brokers who say, I have access to all of the financial products out there. If
Right.
you go through me, you don't need to go through anybody else. But I've always wondered if that's really true, and if most mortgage brokers don't really specialize in maybe a handful of lenders?
Yeah, so two things on that as well. So if you're a mortgage broker or a mortgage bank with options in-house like we have at RPM, you're only as good as your expertise in those products. So if you're a buyer and your lender, your broker says to you, well, I've got access to the whole market, good for the pricing perhaps, but bad for their inherent and deep knowledge of that product, because they could send your application to that source with a great rate, but it would fail a guideline that lender has and not another. So
But you actually want to get that loan at the end of the day.
right, you want to work with a lender that has, you know, a broad and deep knowledge of the product they offer, but also a selection of product to accommodate a good range of needs.
But I'll bet that consumer who gets that situation probably thinks, oh, this guy's baiting and switching me, and he's probably not. He
Right,
just,
right, and you know, it happens all the time in the industry now. You've got the overview guidelines, which are generally set by Fannie and Freddie, but then underneath that you have every investor's overlays, which are their nuances to the broader set of guidelines. So one investor might like certain attribute of the loan, but another one would not do that. You start seeing that where you have like a cosigner. Some will go for that.
Yeah.
Some will say, well, if your cosigner will give them X amount of income, but the other will say, no, we'll give them 100% of. So variances across the board, and you got to know that product in order to sell it properly.
And I find that when you're rate shopping and you know someone's quoting you, let's just say for argument's sake they're quoting you 4%,
Mhm.
they know they can get this closed for you within 21 days
Right.
or whatever the deal is, and then you make another call or you respond to
Right.
something you see in the TV, an ad or something. Oh, for 3 7/8 or
Right.
3 3/4, and then. But do you know what that particular lender's appetite is? Their appetite
Good
for
point,
your
Mark.
loan might
Yeah.
be different,
Yeah.
and so
Yeah,
I've had
very
that.
good
I've been shopped like that before. And it's
well,
frustrating.
yeah, you do that in the hard money, and then
Yeah, right. It happens.
in the conventional or soft money, they say.
Well, what,
You know, well, the question I was going to ask you is, how many times do people call you after they've already done some shopping and say, "Hey, Mr. Spinoza, I believe I can get 4%
Right,
such and
right,
such.
right.
Can you beat that or whatever?"
yeah, so it happens not infrequently, and what I'll tell folks is that, you know, oftentimes when I look at our rate sheet, it's competitive to begin with. So if they're a wild outlier, then at that point I'm probably going to tell them best of luck. Let me know if you have any questions or problems down the road. If they're in the mix, I tell them that's a fair price. That's where you want to be. The real distinction now gets down to who do you feel most comfortable working with.
Gotcha.
Because that's a big, and you know, here in Marin, for example, our purchase market is very tight. So if you go in with a letter, let's say you narrowed it down to 1/8% between lender A and lender B,
Okay.
and lender B is in Spokane, Washington.
Yeah.
You bring that pre-approval letter into a transaction with a local agent here, you're going to have a hard time with that.
Gotcha.
So, you know, you've got to appreciate on every level what the price is costing you and what it's getting you. And it's a comprehensive search. And I really find that with my clients, a lot of it is just comes down to what's their appetite for doing all that sorting out. And if you communicate well with your loan advisor, if you trust your loan advisor, and your loan advisor is giving you a good quote, oftentimes that'll seal the deal right there.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you very much. We're going to cut to our second commercial break on sailor superstitions here.
See if we can do better this time.
All right. But before we do, let's make a quick mention here for another place here called the Hope Merrill House. We've had them on before. So they're located in Geyserville,
Okay.
and they stand strikingly. They have a strikingly restored Victorian place. It's a bed and breakfast. It's a delightful one. Enjoy a glass of wine in the veranda or in the parlor or out by the pool. And in the morning, you're surrounded by the sounds and scents of a home-cooked country breakfast. I love that. I love home-cooked country breakfasts. Yeah, exactly. Beer. All right, hold on. Our most popular and unique package is the pick and press winemaking event, where a wine lover can spend 2 days making wine.
That's interesting.
So create your own labels for 2 cases of your very own bottles of wine, which you take home share with friends and family. Detailed information about the package and about the inn is available at the website www.hope-inns.com. Check that out. That looks like a really nice place. Okay, here's our second sailor question here. Let's see. A sailor with no tattoos is a new sailor, indeed. But tattoos are not mere decorations. They have meaning. For instance, what is the significance of the anchor many seamen wear on their arms? All right. The first caller with correct answer is going to win a free 3-day United States, the Lighthouse Resort. Call 888-912-1190. That's 888-912-1190 to answer this question. What is the significance of the anchor many seamen wear on their arms? All right. Don't touch that dial. The best of investing. Will be right back.
I want this to be like the Hollywood Squares where they already know the answers and they act so smart. Oh, that would mean
Yeah, that's right. It's true or false.
Maybe. I always thought, God, how do they know those answers are so smart? And then you hear at the end of the show, they may have been pre-supplied with the answers to certain questions.
Yeah,
may have been. Yeah.
For the ones who say, I don't look like an idiot, could you please give me the answer to that? Yeah.
And Paul Lynn.
Yeah.
Yeah, that guy's
funny.
Right? Remember Paul Lynn?
Hey, Paul, how's the rat race? The rats are winning.
I don't remember that one. That's a good one. I
I
like
did
that.
that one time. Actually, that was a comedy show. He started short-lived comedy show. Starring Paul.
Oh yeah.
You want to cover that article you sent me, that LinkedIn one? The 6 reasons why pre-approvals will die afterwards.
Yeah. Well,
Okay, because I have that printed out too. I didn't know if you wanted to go over it.
Yeah, sure. Certainly.
Sweetly, and 2 more segments, right?
Victim of circumstance.
Are you insinuating? No, just answer. Okay.
Dewey, Cheatham, and Hal.
You like that one?
Yeah. So funny.
I'm just gonna make one more mention for back
Those guys were comedic genius on every level.
Yeah.
Every level.
Yeah. Hey, did you remember to lock the door? Yeah, twice. Once this way and once this way. Good thing we're not recording
It's
this. for
funny
YouTube,
every
huh?
time. It's funny every time.
Okay, here we go.
I love it.
Welcome back to the Best of Investing. Again, I'm Edward Brown, your host. Mark Hunt is over in the left corner, and Rob Reynolds in the right corner. Get the gloves on.
Hard
Okay.
money versus soft money.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
That's right. We should have a debate sometime. Okay. Here is our second sailor question. Actually, before I do want to make a quick mention for Pack Trade. Check them out at packtrade.com. They're the ones who do B2B, which stands for business to business, barter. So if you're interested in the barter companies, you got to check them out because they do an excellent job. All right. A sailor with no tattoos is a new sailor indeed, but tattoos are not mere decorations. They have meaning. What is the significance of the anchor many seamen wear on their arms?
I've always wondered, never knew.
Okay. It prevents them from drifting away if they should fall overboard. Technically that's the meaning.
That's
Okay.
superstition, all right?
Wow.
I would have thought it would have been that,
I'm glad I don't know that answer.
Yeah, that was a little odd. Okay, so Rob, there was an article that you found.
Yeah, you were talking
Or I
about
found
something. Yeah, well, a while
One of us
back,
found it.
one of us found it, and it talked about things that can change 6 reasons that a pre-approval can come apart, or basically your loan approval can come apart after it's been pre-approved.
Okay.
So a pre-approval letter
Yeah.
is something they get when they
Start
want to
the
go
process.
shopping for
Right.
a house, and the listing
Right.
agent says, I can't accept your offer unless I have a letter from your mortgage broker saying
Right.
you're pre-approved.
So they'll come to a lender at that point, and typically if the lender does its job, they will analyze income, assets, and credit, and they will go and say, okay, you are pre-approved up to a certain amount, whatever that might be, and here are your terms. So let's say they take this letter out to the market, the seller accepts their offer, they're now in contract, and somewhere along the way to closing, the wheels come off. Okay? And this article specifically addresses the 6 items that can undo what they had at the beginning. So number 1, change in requirements for the loan. Okay? So that would be
Which would be outside their control.
that would be outside their control.
So in other words, you wanted a $600,000 loan, and it turns out you need a $650,000. Is that what you're talking about?
Or just the loan
Well,
requirements.
yeah,
from
let me
lender.
give you a better example. So just recently, Fannie Mae changed its automated underwriting guidelines, and that will now allow a jumbo conforming loan to go up to 95% instead of 90%. Okay, so but let's say
That's
it
a
went.
good change.
That's a good
Yeah,
change.
that's a good change.
Let's say it went the other way. So you had a pre-approval letter at 95, and then they went
okay.
back to 90.
Gotcha.
Now you're no longer valid. Okay, so that would be, again, like Mark said, beyond your control. Number two, you take on additional debt.
Yeah.
This one undermines a lot of approvals. And
So like in the meantime, while you forgot about your pre-approval letter and you went out
Right.
and you said,
bought
hey,
a car.
sweet, let's go buy a car.
Right,
Down
we're
on
feeling
credit.
pretty good. We're going to be buying this house. Let's go buy a car. And now all of a sudden, when the lender goes to fund your loan, they run a comparative credit report, and up comes a car inquiry. They find out you now took on a $350 payment, but your debt ratio was pegged at the start. Now you're in trouble.
Now, wouldn't that even include things that seem mundane, like you're standing in line Christmas shopping to buy something at Macy's, and you don't happen to already have a Macy's card? And they
Correct.
say, hey, you can save
Great
10%
point.
That's a good point.
if you sign up for our
Yeah.
Macy's card. And so, or any other kind of B or C level
And
credit.
don't worry, we won't give you a hard pull, which they do.
Right.
Yeah.
And so what happens there is an inquiry will show up when a lender does the prior to funding credit check. We won't see the actual trade line because there's no activity on it yet because
Yeah.
you just opened it up.
Yeah.
But that Macy's will go out to Experian, Equifax, or TransUnion, and they will ping them and say, this consumer made an inquiry, and then we'll go, what did you do? And they'll say, oh, I opened the card, and we'll say, what's the
And that's it.
balance?
And,
What's
and
the
here's the
limit?
good news: they gave me a $50,000 limit.
Yeah.
That's how good I am. You go, no.
Well, so really what happens in those cases, if you haven't borrowed against it, it becomes somewhat of a paper chase in the 11th hour. If you have borrowed against it, now, of course, like Mark said, we need to factor in the payment.
Okay.
So number three, you change careers. Big no-no. Okay,
Oops.
so once you're in process,
So you're interviewing. You say, could we start this job after I close my house?
I want to open up a restaurant.
that's just an automatic denial.
Yeah.
We-
That and being an encyclopedia salesman.
we won't even ask you what kind of restaurant. We'll just deny your luck.
Yeah, right.
No, so the worst thing you can do in that, in all seriousness, is you can become self-employed. I don't care how successful you are going to become when you're self-employed. Your lender wants a 2-year history of self-employment, and you will not be able to provide that. You'll be out of line. A negative hit to your credit report is number 4. So this could be anything. You go late on a payment, something like that. Right now, your score will be hit. Number 5, appraisal issues. Okay, so this is large.
that's
This could be
kinda
beyond
obvious,
the borrower's control. I mean, the house doesn't appraise.
I'm sorry, go back to the self-employed. You know what I was thinking of? When Tiger Woods was working, let's say, as a W-2 employee, let's say many years ago, and suddenly he's like the best golfer in the world, but he's self-employed.
Yeah. So
So in other words, he's better off working at Craig Auto Parts for $8 an hour than making $1 million a year on the tour.
now,
Okay.
some lenders
I get it.
probably going to extend credit to Tiger Woods, but most will not. And if you recall, a few years ago, Ben Bernanke had that issue because he became an author and a speaker,
That's right.
and he was chairman of the Fed,
Yeah.
which was probably a W-2 position. I think,
I
right?
think so. Sure. Wow.
Number 5 or 6, I don't know, I lost count. Mortgage fraud. So I'm not going to touch that, but if you try to defraud the lender, as
I make $25,000 a month. Can you prove it?
Nope. Yeah. So or we've I gotta say, I mean, I've heard instances of this. People, they falsify documents. I mean,
Sure.
bank statements
Well,
are not. It's just like,
Nowadays, it's easy. I mean, now you've got software. The Adobe
nowadays it's easy until you're in jail.
right. Well,
exactly.
they've got new Adobe Acrobat
Right,
software where
right.
you can literally change any PDF, which you couldn't do before.
Yeah.
Now it's a piece of cake. You
Yeah.
can change numbers in there that looks like an official document showing that you're even bank balances on a PDF statement can be changed.
So when the
it's
lender
really
says,
scary.
you prove to me that you make $25,000 a month, you say, well, I can show you my inventory of cocaine in the bedroom. That's worth a lot.
I will
of
just
money.
say this: that it's if you're thinking about outsmarting your lender, you really have to be out of your mind, because the lender can come back and ask for things that you might not have thought about when you were trying to defraud them, and then how do you put that together? I just don't get how people think they're going to get that.
I wonder how many people, lie and cheat on their application, but they got it just to get the loan, and they make good on the loan.
Right.
I'm sure it still
Right.
happens.
Oh, I'm sure it happens all the time. We don't know about those cases,
Yeah.
right? So it's, but those are the top 6. Pretty interesting list. And I guess the moral of the story on some of them, the ones that are in your control, if you are serious about entering the process, if you're thinking about buying a home or refinancing a home, talk to your lender as early as you can. Give me a call anytime, and because these things, some of them, the ones that are in your control, are avoidable.
Yeah,
You know?
you didn't give out your information last time, so.
So you can find my bio on Best Investing
Yeah.
on the website. I am with RPM Mortgage, work out of the Mill Valley office, just north of San Francisco. 415-367-5959. Rob Spinoza.
Good.
Yeah.
I've referred a few people to you.
Happy to help.
Very happy.
Yeah, thank you.
with that. Hey, Mark, do you have any, surprising you with this question, do you have any deal of the week? Are you working on anything exciting?
You know,
Christmas time,
the
kinda
phones
weird,
have been
huh?
slow.
Yeah.
Well, actually, let me restate that. We've not done a lot of new loans the last couple of weeks. The phones have not been slow. We just haven't liked the particular loan requests that we've been
Quality.
getting. There's a difference.
Yeah.
So, you know, one of the things that we do at Pacific Private Money is we actually are very specific about the type of loan we want to do. We're very discerning in that way. And so we've actually tracked it this past year in 2015. And we say no to, on average, 19 out of 20 inquiries. An inquiry could be by email or by phone. And I was actually shocked to learn that number. You know, once we
Warren
started
Buffett
really
would
tracking.
applaud you for that.
Yeah, and it's not, most of these people are not fraudulent, they just
No,
don't
right,
fit into
right.
your.
Right, they
category.
either want 100% financing, or
Outside
they
the
want a
box, yeah.
second or third that doesn't really work in our wheelhouse. Maybe they're outside of our area. But we also get referrals from mortgage brokers who think they have a perfectly workable hard money type loan, meaning hey, don't look at the borrower, just look at the asset. If it's
Right.
70% or below the market value of the asset, why wouldn't you make this loan? Well, we looked at one in Marin County just this past week. Where we got an appraisal in for roughly $1.5 million, and we believe that valuation to be true. And the borrower needed $1 million, and that was going to refinance out some other loans and consolidate some debt. But when we looked at the borrower, we saw that he had done some things, through a Chapter 11 reorganization, and there was some prior loan modifications on that same property, and I just
ATR.
I just thought to myself, well, it's not an owner occupied. That's the thing. This
Right.
was he was renting
Well,
it out.
right.
There was
Yeah.
income through. They were
Yeah.
using it for Airbnb, and he was making good income on this property. So, and in theory, we could have just easily made that loan and just said, well, look, if the guy starts missing payments, we're just going to foreclose.
But you don't want to buy into a problem, though.
Right.
Yeah. Good
Well,
point.
it gave that and a few other issues with the loan that I'm not going to reveal because again I
Yeah.
don't want there's privacy issues here, but confidentiality. But there was just our gut was what this just doesn't pass the sniff test for us.
Yeah.
Now, 10 years ago, any hard money lender would have jumped on this.
Yeah.
It would have just been an easy, of
Yeah.
course. Who cares, right? But nowadays, even if it's not their primary residence, there's what's their payment history?
Right.
What's their ability to afford the monthly payments? What's really happening behind the curtains? We don't want to. Sometimes the best loan you make is the one you don't make, right?
Right.
And
Yeah, because what
Bringing your
happens
whole
if,
portfolio down.
I mean, what happens if, okay, so let's say it really is worth $1.5 million, and you do your $1 million loan, but immediately the borrower, creates problems, and then again, you get into lawsuits, then you have to file the notice of default, and you have to, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You could start eating away at that $500,000 equity enough to where you go, you know what, life's too short, I don't need the problem.
what's great
the
about
resources you're going to allocate to that
Yeah,
process
that's a
is
good
costing
point.
you money.
well, that's
on the
exactly
other
it.
side of
And
it,
we've
so.
been blessed by a good decision-making experience, and so we've done well over 1,000 loans in the last, most of them in the last 5 years, and we just have a very, very low default rate. I mean, it's very low. Although in the last couple of weeks, I have had to work out some non-payment issues, and I'll tell you, it's such a distraction. I don't like, I don't like it at all. And
You're not gonna
but
lose
it's really
money
it's a
on it, though.
small handful
Yeah.
out of we're servicing over 250 loans right now, and to have only 4 be behind 2 or 3 payments, that's actually really good statistically. But still, it's annoying, and it makes me think back on the process, the decision-making process, when we
Gotcha.
said yes to that person. And in one case in particular that we were working on in the office this week for non-payment, that was one of those where we did kind of wonder about it when we made the loan,
Yeah,
going,
yeah.
I don't.
Now you
This
kick
one's
it
a
right.
little bit questionable, but I think the equity's there. Let's go ahead and make it. And the guy makes one payment, and then that's it. And we made the loan during the summer. We made one payment. Now we're going to file a notice of default and go through the foreclosure process, and maybe he'll file bankruptcy. I mean, who knows what this borrower will do? But it's a distraction, and we'd rather not do it. So we're all about making loans to people who have a viable need for the money, have a viable way to repay it. We call that the exit strategy. We like short-term loans, particularly people who just need to buy that house now and have a reliable path towards refinance shortly thereafter. But and that's where, and there's enough demand for that type of loan product in the Bay Area that we don't have to stretch and go out and be the hard money lender of old, who basically would just make a loan to anybody who could fog a mirror as long as there was equity in the
Well,
property.
let me ask you, what's the prognosis for Dr. Hahn? What's the prognosis for that loan that you mentioned, and then the other couple that are having issues?
The prognosis for the one we didn't make is that we're not going to make it.
No. The one
So that was the deal of the week. The deal of the week was the loan we didn't make.
Okay, fair enough.
You know,
The prognosis, well, we don't know because this borrower won't respond by email or phone. So I just send out a letter and an email again saying, look, if we don't hear back from you, we're going to file notice of default. So, save all of us the aggravation and yourself the added cost plus the exercise of the default rate, which for those who don't know, in the loans that most private money lenders write, there's usually a default rate which is going to be higher than the note rate. So if the note rate's 10%, which is already not cheap money to begin with, we build in a 4% default rate into our notes. So that note will go from 10 to 14%. That'll go all the way back to the initial default. Plus the foreclosure costs are usually equal to about 1% of the note rate. Of the note amount. So if it's a $200,000 note, it's going to be about a $2,000 fee for foreclosure. So
just roughly, obviously not divulging any confidentiality. When you made the loan, what was the value of the property and what was your loan? Roughly.
I think it was a $200,000 loan, and the value it was about a 70%. It was a purchase loan.
Okay, well, it was purchase loan. Okay, well, we'll see if we'll follow this one over the next month or so and see how well you do. Because if the guy pays, you're actually going to end up being better off that he did default because you're going to collect all the late fees and a higher interest rate. Okay, here's our last trivia question on sailor superstitions. What animal is so unlucky that sailors will not even speak its name on board? All right, the first caller with the correct answer wins a free 3-day, 2-night stay at the Lighthouse Resort. 888-912-1190 to answer that question. Don't touch that dial. We'll be right back. I want to get right on the money here. The easier
So you can do the math easier?
Yes, I like easy math. Yeah, I can't stand borrowers like that. It was a purchase money, so he didn't take money out.
Idiot. I misspoke. It actually was a refinance.
Refi,
So yeah, it was a refi. I don't know how much cash out there was though. I think there was some cash out. He was going to make improvements to the property.
Where's the property?
I think the borrower's an attorney. And the one we turned down, I was just talking about the Nevada one, attorney.
Yeah, you mentioned that one. Yeah.
Ugh, no way.
Where's the problem property?
It's Pollock Pines.
Oh, that's near
so
Tom.
so it's up that direction. So it was.
Might go visit me on your way off.
Yeah, and it wasn't 200. I think the loan was actually less than that. So it's a second. It's maybe about 150-ish on a something value. I mean, I don't know. It's just I remember we looked at it like 5 or 6 different ways, and it just probably at the time. It's funny when a loan like that, if that came in when we were busy, we probably would just pass on it.
I know, that's the danger.
That's the
that,
thing.
I mean, listen,
It's like,
that's how
we got the time. Let's go. Let's dig a little deeper in this.
This is what happened with us with land. Because remember, the banks were giving out so much money. We were sitting around going, "There's no loans for us." And then these other ones came, and we got hit hard. So
so
that's where I learned my lesson.
Cautionary step.
It's better to just not do it and eat away at your fixed costs for a while. Oh, this is going to be a short segment, my friends.
I felt like we were running long on a couple of those, so it's okay.
4 minutes.
I always love talking about this, the decade of the rigs. If you asked me, if I didn't know this and you asked me, so what do you think the average rate was during the 10-year period between 2000 and 2010? I would not
For interest
guess.
rates?
Yeah, mortgage rates.
Mortgage rate. Okay.
Mortgage rates. Historic mortgage rates by decade.
Right. Finish off with that.
This is Maureen.
Ready?
Yep.
Yes, there you go. Welcome back to the Best of Investing. Last time for today, I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Mark Hunt and Rob Spinoza. Last trivia question. What animal is so unlucky that sailors will not even speak its name on board?
Albatross.
Giant squid.
No. Pigs. Legend says they can see the wind, and they cause the wind to blow unfavorably. I thought maybe a black cat or something. Okay,
Yeah,
these
this
are
one,
really
Albatron's
old
not an animal,
superstitions.
but I thought you were trying to trick me. So.
Brontosaurus. Don't mention Brontosaurus on the end. Okay, Mark, you have some last minute stuff here.
Sure. So I've got this chart for the average mortgage rate during 10-year periods. And, we were talking about mortgage rates the first segment of the show, and we were
Right.
saying that, they're just below, a tick below 4 right now, and we're predicting possibly by the end of 2016, they may not be significantly different than that. We could
Right.
still be looking at 4% interest rates, even though short-term rates have started going up thanks to the Fed move this past week. But if you were to ask me, and I wasn't looking at this chart, what do you think the average mortgage rate was during the 2000s, from 2000 to 2010? What do you think that number would be?
6.5%.
You are
That's
very
a,
close.
That's a very good guess. Yeah, I think
6.3% is the average.
most people would have thought
mortgage rate.
less than that just based on memory, but
Yeah.
it actually was that because I remember the first 5 years or so, 4 years were in the sixes,
Yeah.
high fives and sixes. Yeah.
And there were some really, really good years during 2000 to 2006. We all know what
real estate
happened.
going up, yeah.
Real estate going up.
Well, but real estate. So access to credit was incredibly good back
That
then.
was
but
the
yeah,
difference,
rates
not the
were
rates.
still right.
Yeah.
You didn't see the threes until the recession.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the 1990s, the average mortgage rate was a little over 8%.
Yeah.
Yeah. Of course, we know the 80s. We had that in the
Oh, yeah.
early 80s, that blip
18,
with
yeah.
during the Carter years where we had 18% mortgage rates. So the average rate for that 10-year period was almost 13%. So,
Right.
but it's skewed by, I think, the early 80s was probably closer to 10 on average.
Yeah,
So
I was
but
talking-
Still, wow.
I was talking to some of my colleagues, and they were talking about the early '90s, and I wasn't in the business back then. But they said that there was a point where rates went under 10%, and they said it was just gangbusters.
Yeah. Oh,
You
yeah.
know, because
Woo!
the phone was ringing off the.
Well, I remember the condo I bought in '84. You and I were talking about that. Interest rates were 13 7/8,
Yeah.
and I got to assume a loan that was at 7 7/8.
Oh, wow,
I was
good for
dancing,
you.
I was dancing in the streets.
Yeah.
So if mortgage rates during the 2000s were just a tick over 6, and now we're talking about mortgage rates maybe going up to 4.5, or God help us, 5 or 6, and how that's going to crash the real estate market. It's very interesting how our perspectives have changed after 7 years of near zero short-term rates and 3-ish% mortgage rates.
Well, what I think the other story behind that is what we're seeing now with regulation in our industry, where we're going through a really tough change with Tiller Respite integrated disclosures. And I read a comment on that this morning where some guy, he was just so exasperated by it, and he's like, the problem with this is it's not going to go away. We're just going to get accustomed to it.
Gotcha.
And I think that's kind of the thing with rates.
And don't mention 6% interest rates. I break the curse in Jesus' name, as I heard on television evangelism one time.
Right.
Okay. All right, thoughts for the day. Now, listen, I don't mind coming to work, but it's this 8-hour wait to go home that's ridiculous. And the quickest way to double your money is to fold it in half. There
put
you
it
go.
back in your pocket.
Yeah. You got it, you rascal, you wada, you got
Who
money.
was it though? That was not Gene Autry. It was.
It was the horse that said that.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
tune in next week to the best of investing. We're going to be giving away more free vacations for answering trivia questions and more comedy.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening. On behalf of our team, I'm Edward Brown, wishing you the best of investing. So long. Yeah, I don't remember who actually.
No, who's the famous
That
cowboy?
was the horse.
Gene Simmons.
Not Gene Simmons. Come on. Gene Simmons.